Muted.
Everyone, I know we still have a few people that are just jumping on the call, but I'm going to go ahead and get ready to be respectful of your time. This is Lori Simpson, your Marketing Director for Christensen Financial. Christina Casanova is on the line with us, your local underwriter. However, she is feeling very sick, and talking is a little bit more difficult for her than she'd like. So the way that this particular Underwriter Roundup is going to work is we'll still have you ask questions in the chat box as they come up. We're going to go over some other products and some upcoming events for CFI, but what we're going to do is any questions that you might have, we're going to go ahead and send those to Christina at the end. So if there's anything that you do want to know, she'll be able to kind of start looking into it and researching it now. And then at the end of the day, when or whenever she gets the answers back to me, I'll send that with the Underwriter Roundup recap. So you all will get your the PowerPoint that you'll see today. You'll get a recording on YouTube of the meeting in its entirety, and you'll also get the answers to any questions that are asked during the Q&A session portion. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So glad to see you all. So we'll start out by saying Happy New Year. Glad you all made it. Hope everyone had a safe and wonderful transition into 2017. We're really looking forward to what we have on the horizon for Christensen Financial. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Jonathan Harris so that he can go over some products for us. And as we're going over this product information and also some information from Sam on the Day One Certainty program from Fannie Mae, go ahead and type any questions that you might have in the chat box, and we'll go ahead, we'll start getting those together, and Christina will be able to see them so we can get ready to send you those answers. So Jonathan, I muted you. Are you on the line?
I am here.
Perfect. All right. Well, go ahead, and of course, if anyone has any questions about the products as well, feel free to go ahead and ask them in the chat box, and we'll make sure that we get those answered. So without further ado, Jonathan Harris.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so we're going to go over two new products this morning. The first one here is going to be the Fannie Mae Home Ready product. This has been out for quite a while, but we'd like to get you guys a little more familiar with this product because it is a very good product to take advantage of. On this one, we can go max LTV up to 97%. Gifts, grants, and community seconds can be used. Those community seconds are going to be your DPA programs that are going to be government approved or government issued, but most investor approved. It's primary residence only, and the borrowers may own investment properties currently already, and it does give an opportunity for lower MI. That is one of the bigger features of this program, is that the MI is a lower factor than what your typical conforming loans will be. Now, one of the big things with this is that there is a maximum income limit, and if you go to the Fannie Mae website, or you'll be able to click on this button here when Lori sends out the PowerPoint, that will take you right to the website, and you'll be able to see your income limits for your area, and that is for where the house is located, obviously. Let's see here.
So
and then there again is the Fannie Mae's webpage. Sorry, Lori.
Yeah, from the marketing side, that's all right. We have some items that we have already created for our loan officers. So when you get this PowerPoint, you'll have the links to Fannie Mae's webpage about Home Ready. We've already created some CFI resources that are in the marketing library. So once you get to this, you can click on product education and see some of the information that we put together for you, and then also some customizable flyers. So you can use this. It's got all the information that you need, and then you can customize with your own information, name, photo, and all of that.
And then also to go back to the previous slide, Sam did just type in there in the chat box. For the income limits, there are actually areas, even some here local in Orlando, that have no income limit. So if you even just get on there and search around the website a little bit and see where those areas are, it is a good selling feature for if you have a house in that area where you can have a borrower, it doesn't matter how much they make, they can still possibly have that lower MI.
Awesome. All right, and now to Home Possible.
Yeah. So this is Freddie Mac's basic equivalent of the Home Ready program. It's called the Freddie Mac Home Possible. It does 3 to 5% minimum down payment options. Flexible source of funds allowed for down payment and closing costs. They also do allow the BPA programs. And then they have reduced MI requirements for loans with 90% LTVs over 90%. Just like Fannie Mae, the income limits do apply here as well, but it is going to be a separate website where you'll go to Freddie Mac's website, which that will be also included in the PowerPoint that Lori sends out a little later.
And then again, same with the Home Ready information and resources. We also have created some CFI resources for you as well. So always trying to make sure that we've got exactly what you need. If there is anything else, feel free to let me know, and I'll create as much as I can as best as we can, depending on the needs. So definitely want to make sure everyone knows that. And there was a note about in the chat box, these two loan programs, max LTV is 45%, right? And Sam confirmed that. So just so that you know. Any other questions?
Yeah, the max guy. Also, I did want to say we'll have all resend out. We sent out a matrix for the Home Possible a couple weeks ago, Lori.
Yep.
We'll have Lori send that out again for everyone too, because that has a lot of good information to help everybody out.
Yeah, absolutely. Were there any other questions about either of these products before we move on to day one? Anyone? Any burning questions? Okay. Well, great. Hopefully a lot of our materials that we send over will kind of answer some of those questions for you as well. So feel free to look over those. And if you do have any other questions, of course, we do have the products desk as well as the scenarios desk for any other scenario questions that you might have that maybe you haven't thought of here on the call. So thank you, Jonathan. I'll go ahead and unmute Sam for the next portion. Sam, are you there? Hello.
Yeah.
All right. So we know a lot of you have been hearing about this day one certainty and how it's going to help CFI in various ways. So Sam is here to help give you those updates. So go ahead, Sam. Thank you.
So day one certainty, it's hard to, it's a little bit of a, I want you to think of it as lanes of different types of things. For instance, there is a way to verify income and employment and assets. The property verification is automatically done through the UCDP portal, so that's nothing that you guys will have to deal with. That'll be handled via the underwriters taking care of that portion of it. So some people have asked about the income verification section, the property verification. So that's done through the UCDP portal, so you guys don't have to worry about that. The other two portions are, like I said, the income and the assets. And in those sections of that, you have the ability to verify a borrower's income and their employment and even their assets. So one of the tricks, though, about the assets is that it will take some borrower interaction. They'll get an email with a link that will allow them to put their account information in that then can be automatically verified. One of the benefits of the day one is the fact that you would not need to get information from the borrower like pay stubs and bank statements, because all of that stuff will be automatically downloaded and delivered to us via the day one certainty stuff. So there is a benefit to it. One of the problems, though, is this is currently only on Fannie Mae conventional files. It's not accessible to Freddie at the moment, and it's not on government loans. So that is one of the things that is a little different about it. Okay, so essentially what you do is I'm setting everybody up. You may be getting emails from Equifax about an account setup, and that's because I'm setting up accounts for you guys to have access to two sides of Equifax. One is the work number, which verifies their employment, and then the other is for rapid reporting, which verifies their income. Essentially what you would do is you would send in a 4506T to rapid reporting. It'll look at their last 2 years of tax returns and then verify what their income is, okay? The benefit to it is, like I said, at that point, if it goes through and your borrower is a simple W-2 employee with nothing crazy, you wouldn't have to ask them for W-2s, pay stubs, or anything like that, because Fannie Mae will accept that income verification based off the automatic. It makes less documents to get, okay? Now, the employment verification through the work number is, at the moment, it's a little choppy. It's not super easy. So we know for a fact that it is a little bit harder to use than some of the other services. So you may want to start doing that earlier in the process. So that way, instead of taking maybe a day or 2 days, it can take 3 to 5 days to get your income verified. That is, though, if it's an employer that's not on the work number. If they're on the work number, it's automatic and instant and done. So it's a little easier that way. So I just want people to be prepared on some of these, to start working a little earlier to get the stuff from their borrowers done properly, okay? Now, the account check, which is the asset verification, not all bank accounts are in. I was going to test, for instance, mine to see how it worked, but my bank is not in there. I go to a small credit union. So if your borrower's not in that and you can't use it, it doesn't mean, though, that you don't use the the income information, okay? So, for instance, if you can get the income but not the assets, you should still get the income verification, because then you don't have to worry about any sort of income verification. The only thing that they'll do is they'll do the check at closing to make sure they're still employed, and that's it, okay? So I don't want you to think that it'll send, like, if I can't do one, I don't want to do the whole thing. You got to think of it as like driving down certain lanes, and if you fill one lane, that's great, but maybe the other lane you can't get access to, you still would go on with the other side of it, okay? For instance, if you have someone that's self-employed and, you know, a lot of Schedule S, and then they have S Corps and stuff like that, those are harder to get done through the employment and income verification, but you can still use the asset verification for those borrowers. That way they're not tracking down bank statements, and, you know, it's really easy, okay? The other thing is when you go to run automated, the services will transfer over, and so for instance, on the asset verification, when it views the stuff that comes from account check, okay, if there's an issue like they're questioning a deposit, it would be in the actual findings to you know, cover what happened with a certain deposit. But if it accepts it as is, it's done. You don't have to do anything else, okay? Now, we are going to be doing training for this. We are going to explain how to use the services. The main thing you have to remember is there's two things. You must have a loan number before you start, because it's all tied into your loan number. You must have done it through Encompass. If you don't do it through Encompass, it won't transfer over, okay? So once I show you how to use it, it's actually really simple, but again, it's going to require a little bit of you communicating with your borrowers. We're going to suggest to certain people that they know they're going with a conforming loan, and it has a possibility is maybe you put together, you know, an email and explaining to borrowers, hey, you'll get an email from account check, and then there's a whole frequently asked question link you can send them, and it explains what's sent from account check. That way your borrowers are prepared, okay? But the good thing is, the way we have to explain it to the borrowers as a positive thing is, if they're in account check, they don't have to track down bank statements, and you don't have to verify that stuff, because it'll automatically be accepted for Fannie Mae, okay? All right. in the question, Terry had asked, the income and asset employment info goes directly into Encompass files or email. It goes directly into Encompass. So the data goes into Encompass. The data is transferred into the Fannie Mae findings when you run it. The good thing is you can run Fannie initially without the information. Once you get it and you run, let's say, for instance, you run Fannie, you got an approve eligible, right? And you all of a sudden you get the account check back, you run Fannie again, it'll give you a thing saying, hey, we've accepted the assets on this file, okay? So as you add certain things to it, it'll update the findings matched off of what it is. There's no emails of data. The data is transported all into Encompass and all into Fannie Mae, okay? You will get emails of notifications like, hey, this has been completed, or there's an issue or an error, but the data itself is securely transferred into Encompass, so you don't have to worry about banking violations and regulations, okay? Again, we don't know. Freddie apparently is supposed to be the end of the first quarter or the beginning of the second quarter. They haven't made an official announcement, but I've been talking with the vendors. The other thing is they are going to add other vendors. For instance, I was talking with Data Verify, and they said that they are about ready to be set up with Fannie Mae. So we will have options where we won't be stuck necessarily using Equifax for our 4506 and employment income verification, and we'll be allowed to use other vendors. So as we get those other vendors set up, I'll keep you guys updated so you know what's going on with it, okay? But currently, it's only Equifax and it's only account check, okay? Hold on a sec. I got a bunch of questions here. Let me open this chat window up a little better. You know, it's funny. I'm good with computers, but I stink at this thing. Okay. Well, right, Terry asked, what if a borrower has several bank accounts and I don't want to, then Terry, if they have bank accounts that you don't want to use, don't put them into account check, and then it won't check them. Because they'll verify which accounts. They choose which accounts they're going to use. So let's say they have 4 bank accounts and you realize the one guy's like, well, this one, you know, it's been having a lot of cash in and out. Just don't verify that account, okay? Lori had said about small employer S-Corp. There is a way to verify some of that information, and I'll go over that in training, okay? The issue is that Fannie Mae doesn't always accept it because of the depends on how difficult the income verification is. It may accept the income, but not the borrower, the employment. So those are kind of 2 steps, okay? No, Sandy, if the borrower doesn't accept it, Sandy had asked if we put the borrower's bank account info in the account check if the borrower doesn't want to. No. It has to be done through the borrower because they have to authorize them via the text that's sent to them whether or not they want to allow access to their bank. You could help them, like let's say they get the email and they're in your office, and you can open it up and explain how it works, okay? Wait, no. If they have an issue with bank accounts and you have a borrower that, Wade had said sometimes borrowers think they're okay in deposits, we could potentially have an account verified, and they may have deposits not verifiable. No, you can choose a different account, Wade, but the other one, once it's in there, it's in there. So there is a little bit of planning on it, okay? Heather had asked, so for employment, we can only use a 4506 verification if they're currently at the same employment. No. Remember, the work number portion is the employment. The rapid reporting 4506 is technically the income, okay? So let's say, for instance, you have to order, let's say you order a 4506T verification. It looks at their income and it accepts it. But let's say on the work number, the guy's had like 4 jobs with gaps and everything. It may not accept you may have to get through and get the employment explained. Does that make sense? Almost look at it as 2 things. One's employment, one's income. Sometimes they don't necessarily, cross. Right now, Sandy, there is no rate benefit to it. The benefit to it is a guarantee that we're not going to have an issue with the file. There's also the benefit of less data having to be called from your borrower. So, like I said, the borrowers won't have to track down income and stuff. Hey, Lori said you can't hear me, but I haven't changed anything. Can you all hear me? Okay. I think it's just Lori then. Ha. All right. So the real benefit right now is the benefit of the borrower having to track down less information. So for instance, I'll be honest with you, if I were able to use account checking in this, I know I would have to go like find old bank statements. I could, sure, click, 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 and I'm done, you know. Wade, right now the fees are being absorbed. I don't know, it's sort of right now the cost is essentially the same as using the Work Number account check. So it's not an added cost at this moment. We're getting a little bit of freebies on it now, but I know they're going to go over some of that. I think if you went to max eventually once it goes, it's going to be at the most, I think it's something like $75 per file if you use all the services get used, okay? Yes, Andy, all Fannie products, even with MI. So in other words, if you guys have a 95 loan, even if you're using, hey, Apple software update there, Lauren. Even if you're using like one of these programs like the Home Possible or whatever it is, you can still use it on that, okay? So think of it like this. Here's the easiest way to think of it. I get my income and employment verified through Equifax. We send the data to Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae says, I accept it. You don't have to do anything else. You're good to go. The only thing you have to do is right before you close is make sure that the borrower is still employed, okay? The same on the assets. They're like, cool, good, you're fine, move on. You know, that's it. Yeah, no investor overlays. This is a Fannie thing. All the investors accept it. It's easy for them too. Think about it. Think about it on a big. Let's look at it as a big picture instead of individual loans. Let's say I'm an investor, and I know that someone uses this service. Fannie Mae is guaranteed to never question that asset or income or property information, right? You should be happy people are using it because you don't even have to worry about it. So it makes it a lot easier. Okay. Tom had asked, do you foresee adding govies? I do see FHA. I am not so sure about VA because they're weird about stuff. For instance, they're not going to use the asset portion. I mean the verification of the property because they still don't use any of that data. But you know that FHA now uses something similar to the UCDP. It's called the EAD. And so they'll have the same data on appraisals that Fannie and Freddie have. So I do see FHA using this. The rumors are that's a 2018 thing, okay? Now, just so you know, Fannie has been doing this since last January. And I know everybody hates this term, but you know those rocket mortgages from Quicken? Quicken was one of the people that were first into this, and that's why they were able to use this, because that rocket mortgage is essentially this data. Because think about it, the borrower just has to type stuff in, and they don't have to verify anything else, and off they go. Okay. Sandy asked if you have two borrowers, only one borrower can do it. We still, yes, absolutely. In other words, actually, when you see in training, you'll have sections for borrower and co-borrower. So let's say borrower one has everything verified, but borrower two doesn't. Then borrower one is done and taken care of, and borrower two will have to manually do. Okay. It does not matter on credit score. It's all just nothing about the borrower score, the product, anything like that. As long as it's a conventional loan and it's Fannie Mae. whether the loan to value is 10 or it's 97, it all goes in for verifications, okay? So it's kind of a good tool, you know, to make sure that we get this stuff done. Now, again, the important thing we want to make sure is that we explain it to our borrowers at the time of application. We are willing to add things even to their initial disclosure package for you. We have several branches that when the disclosures go out, we add additional documents. If you wanted to, in those documents, you could explain, hey, you'll get an email from, you know, account check explaining this, or you'll get, you know, your employment's going to be verified through Equifax and blah, blah, blah. So I want everybody to be prepared to sort of explain that to their borrowers. Again, if you're doing a VA or an FHA at this moment, then don't worry about it, okay? No, Sandy, no different disclosures. It's all done. It's verified electronically. It goes through the system. Once it's done and Fannie accepts it, it's done. There is nothing coming back. Fannie will not come back. It's essentially, they've guaranteed that they will not question the income or the assets if they accept it through the day one certainty, the day one verifications, okay? So that is one of the benefits to us, too, is there's going to be no questioning of it, okay? Obviously, as long as the data is right, but according to everything that's going through Equifax and account check, it is all right. No, Sue, we're not going to have any overlays to the account check. If it's okay with the assets, then we're okay with the assets, okay? Sandy, I agree. Sandy had said that old school borrowers can stay old school without penalizing them. Some borrowers are like this, some won't. I agree, Sandy. I admit that this is more, I hate this term again, but this is more of a millennial tool, you know, that age from, you know, 18 to, you know, I'm going to say 48 because that's how old I am. But anyway, so, you know, it is more of a millennial tool of people who are comfortable with technology and stuff. You're also going to have people that just don't want to do it, and we understand that. We would prefer that everybody do the income in the 4506 portion. I understand sometimes in the account check it's not going to happen because you can't force it. Lori had asked about gifts. No, we can't verify non-borrowers' accounts. That will still have to be done manually. Okay, so it's only borrowers' accounts that we can verify. I actually was in a training class. Lori, it should be next week. We're going to get going on this. I actually have a training this afternoon with one branch, and we have, I'm going to that way kind of go over it. See, it's easier for me to try it once and then learn what we missed and didn't miss. And then, so you'll probably see announcements starting next week, probably Tuesday, because, you know, Monday is a holiday. So, and I won't be hungover because I don't drink on Martin Luther King Day. And we can't do it February, what is it, 7th, because that's the day after the Super Bowl, and I don't, you know, I may be hungover then. So, yeah. So Wade had said, you know, they did one, the borrower was comfortable with it, and did another one with another borrower, and they're like, ugh, it's scary, you know. So just so you know, on the account check information, nothing, no data leaves that except into Fannie Mae. In other words, when that account information is dumped into the file, it's not transferred to any other party, okay? It's very secure. And account check's not the only one. There's several companies now that are starting up. And we're going to see other vendors that do this. So, again, if their bank's not in there, like unfortunately my bank wasn't. So, you know, it's one of those things is if their bank isn't in there, then there's, you know, we're going to have to do it old school. But if they're with a bigger bank, you know, there's a lot of little banks in there. Mine's just a little teeny tiny bank. I don't remember. I had my account there since, you know, Jesus was born. So, okay, so anyway, that's sort of what's going to be going on. I just, you know, want everybody to be prepared. It's not difficult. When it's done through Encompass, if you utilize it, it's pretty much automatic. You can send the forms right from the e-signature. You don't have to do anything special. The only thing is just like you got to make sure that your 4506 Ts are done properly. So if you have a borrower, you may have to send them additional 4506 Ts. Terry Santiago has done it, and it works. You know, she's had a borrower, she had a pair of borrowers, she sent like 3 or 4 4506 Ts. She sent them to them, sent them off to the service, and then all the information came back, okay? So we'll go over that in training too. So also communicate with their borrowers is, for instance, you still probably have to get a copy of their tax returns to make sure that your 4506T data is correct, but you know, that's just working with the borrowers, okay? Anyway, anybody else have any questions? Again, just watch for announcements from Lori about training, and you know, you'll see that this is going to be a great thing on your Fannie conforming. And again, we're going to prepare for Freddie too, because like I said, it's end of the first quarter or you know, beginning of the second quarter. Lori, let's Lori, get your borrower's docs in. Email me the borrower's name, and let's fool around with it and see if we can get it to work. Okay. Yes.
Sam, there's also a question from Terry about kind of communication with borrowers and with realtors. I know we talked about this the other day about marketing pieces for it. What can we communicate now, or when are we able to communicate what type of information?
I would advertise to real estate agents about, you know, hey, if you got a borrower, I don't want to copy the Rocket Mortgage thing, but you can copy and say, you know, some sort of information regarding quick asset income and, you know, property verification, and, you know, maybe we come up with a marketing term, you know, like it's I don't want to use the term streamline. That people, you know, we got to get something to show how it's quick and easy, you know, maybe like quick and easy, CFI's quick and easy or something like that. But essentially what you could communicate to people is, hey, on you know, conforming loans right now, you know, we have the ability to verify your income and assets and not collect a bunch of documents from, you know what I mean? I think what we need to do is, I agree, Tara, we need to put together a flyer that sort of explains, like, you know, hey, just, you know, log in and send this information. And most borrowers, what we have to be careful is we can't say everybody, because obviously not everybody, but just say most borrowers could qualify for this, you know, quick and easy program or something like that. And I think it would be good, especially to real estate agents. Now, that's another thing too, by the way, is something I wanted to talk about in a meeting I'm also going to have with processors and LOs coming up. But we do have the ability to communicate with real estate agents through Encompass via email alerts. And I think some people would like that. I'm talking about, Lori, I'm talking about as the file progresses inside of Encompass. So like once it's clear to close, you could send an email out to the real estate agents like, hey, your file, blah, 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 at this address has been clear to close. Contact, you know, Terry Santiago at this number if you have any questions. Or, you know, we have the ability to do that. We haven't turned it on for everybody yet. I was testing it. I accidentally had some, I was in a file. I was testing on fake files. I went into a live file, and it pushed some stuff out to borrowers about, your loan is now in processing. And it was not intentional, you know. So, but we do have the ability to turn that on and off, and I'm going to go over that. I think it's a real powerful tool, especially to keep the real estate agents in contact about what's going on in a file can sometimes reduce the calls and everything. You know, could make it easier. So we'll go over and explain it. It's a little, it can be a little cumbersome because you got to turn it on and off on particular times, but it's a pretty cool little tool, and we'll go over that later. But I do think it's a good tool to keep in touch with your real estate agents because they're the ones that are giving you the business, and you want to keep them happy, you know. So, but anyway, just look forward to it. Again, you should. Some people will be getting emails from Equifax, like for today. Tom, I had hit a couple people up in your ranch. I think it was like Priest and Chris. So, you know, just tell them to get signed up. And then everybody should be activated on account check. Fannie Mae got us activated on the work number and the rapid reporting, but they goofed up on the account check, so that may take a couple more days. But other than that, it's all pretty much being set up. So we'll start training next week and get it out there, and I think if with proper marketing and communication, you can capture a lot more business from people, okay? Yeah, Terry, you will. Yeah. You should. If anybody has any questions about their logins or anything about with Equifax, which also ties now into rapid reporting, just shoot me an email. I was never the admin on the account. I finally got set up as the admin, and I can reset passwords and do that kind of stuff now. It's pretty easy. So, yeah, Disney's not in there. Disney will have to go through. If they're not in the work number, there is another section you can fill out, and we'll go over that. Because I asked the same thing. I said, hey, you know, Disney and the post office use different systems. So, and we'll kind of explain that about how the manual VOEs work. One thing on the manual VOE, so let's say they're working for a mom and pop business, right? It's important that you communicate to your borrower to get with their employer like, hey, listen, you know, you're going to be getting a call or a fax from somebody. Just please make sure you fill it out so that way it gets done. Sometimes that's sort of that communication that I'm talking about. If they're not part of the work number, it's done manually, and it takes a little interaction with their, you know, owners or however it works for their company. Okay. So, like for instance, Christensen's in the work number. So if you were to verify your own employment, it would just pop right up and dump in there. Okay. All right. So anyway, just look forward to training. I appreciate everybody going around on this. Hey, a little bit on what Jonathan was talking about that Fannie Mae and Freddie programs. You have to really be careful on when you look at their income, and also the DTI cannot go above 45%. Okay. The only way is in the Fannie portion of it. I don't know if the Freddie does this, but you can use supplemental income, but it doesn't reduce their DTI. So if someone's over, it'll never go over 49.9. If you hit 50, you're dead. Okay, so that's when you got to curve to FHA. Now, the reason why, by the way, that FHA reduced the monthly MIP to 0.6, the reason why they reduced it is to keep up with this Home Ready and Home Possible products. Okay. The weird thing too that we noticed, typically when FHA changes a MIP, they do it based off of when case numbers are assigned, but this time it's based off the closing. If you have an FHA closing prior to January 27th, you may want to communicate with your borrowers to tell them, hey, if we close on the 27th, okay, or fund on the 27th, you will have a reduced MI. That even applies for refinances. So if it funds on the 27th or after, you're talking about a quarter monthly payment less per month, which can save the borrowers thousands of dollars over the life of a loan. So I would communicate with your borrowers and go over any FHA loans you're planning to close this month. I would get with everybody and say, we need to close on the 27th or after, okay, or fund. So if it's a refinance, what you would have to close on the 25th? Yeah, 25th, which means you'd need a CD out on the 20th. Okay, so, you know, get with your borrowers, try to get it done because it's going to take a lot, okay? But again, it saves them a lot of money. So for instance, if you close on the 27th or fund on the 27th, 30th, or 31st, you could typically save your borrower a lot of money. So look at your files, talk to your real estate agents, talk to your borrowers and say, hey, listen, you know, can we push the closing back to the 27th or to the 30th or something? It'll save the borrower a ton of money. If they close and fund on the 26th, it's 0.85 a month. If they close and fund on the 27th, it's 0.6 a month. It's that's how straightforward it is, okay? So I would be honest with you, if you want, I can run reports to look at your potential closings and FHAs and then maybe give you a little update like, hey, you know, this borrower typically, you know, could save money by moving the closing. So, All right, guys, that's all I had. Lori, you can take back over.
No, that was great. Thank you so much, Sam. I think everyone got a lot out of that. Anyone else have any questions as far as the underwriter side goes? Obviously, you always have the scenarios desk that can help you with any questions as they come up. But if you do have any that you'd like to have answered either today or this week, you can either type them in or you can let us know later on this week. You can send them to me. Or if any of you are good to go, if you have to go ahead and get onto other meetings or other work, totally understand. We appreciate your time. Hopefully everyone got a lot of valuable information out of it. And then, of course, we'll be having trainings upcoming next week for the day one certainty. So we wanted to give you a little taste, a little explanation of what we have coming up so that all of you are a bit more prepared. And any questions that you may have, definitely rest assured that you'll have the opportunity to ask them in the future as training goes on. So hopefully you got some good information. Right, looks like we still have a couple questions that Sam is fielding in the chat box. But if there's anything else that you guys do want to ask, feel free to send those in, and we'll get those answered as best we can. If you got to go, we totally understand. But if you can stay, you have more questions, we'll be happy to get those and make sure we get you the answers either today or this week at a very latest. Okay. Well, it looks like questions have slowed down. We have a few people that are just heading out. So if you do have any other questions, go ahead, type them in the chat box. I'll keep that open for a few more minutes, and we'll go ahead and make sure that we get answers for you. All right. Thanks, everyone. Like Sam said, keep a lookout for announcements. We will keep you in the loop as far as training goes. We're really excited about what this and many other improvements over the coming months will do for your business. Thanks everyone for coming. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.